you're going to love this. And I'm always like, am I? Like, am I? Okay, like, I don't know that. Like, you don't really know that either. And my nervous system just puts that in like, ratchet down. You're not putting a priority on this because somebody told you how you feel. Hello and welcome to Divergent Paths. I'm your host, Dr. Regina McMenomy. I am a doctor, but not that kind of doctor. And this is a podcast, not medical advice. Divergent Paths is a podcast where we explore the unique experiences and perspectives of neurodivergent individuals. Our Everything You Need to Know About series will take a deep dive into some of the common characteristics neurospicy individuals experience. Joining me for this series is my longtime friend and host of the Business DIY podcast, Russ Catanach. If you've ever found yourself irrationally resisting even simple requests, even ones you actually want to do, you might be experiencing pathological demand avoidance. PDA is a very common experience for neurodivergent folk and can be one of the most frustrating. We explore what it is and some ways to work with it. So stay tuned, and thanks for listening to Divergent Paths. I cannot tell you. This is the lived experience.
I'm laughing, and you're laughing because we were just goofing around in the start, talking about today's topic. It's a serious topic, of course, but
it is, yes. But
in the way that you framed it, it made it made it quite entertaining. So today we're talking about pathological demand avoidance.
Right.
Tell me first just what that is, and then we'll get into
all right
the funny way that you showcase this.
Pathological demand avoidance is a criteria, I do believe, that is in the DSM-5 under like the autism diagnosis. You can have a PDA profile of autism. Some of the phrasing and some people who are looking more in depth at what this means now are calling it persistent drive for our autonomy instead of pathological demand avoidance. Because it has a more sort of positive spin on what this is. So what happens if you have a PDA profile or you have tendencies towards demand avoidance is you will experience a certain level of anxiety, almost like a fear-based reaction sometimes. I mean, anxiety is generally fear-based, but you will have a fear-based reaction like a fight or flight that is triggered from somebody telling you to do something, no matter how silly that might be.
So, for example, it could be watch a television show.
Right.
This television show is great. Go check it out.
Right. You'd love this. You'd love this show. You'd think you would really enjoy this.
So you're telling me that if I told you a show was great, what you said before we started recording, and I'm selling you out here by bringing it into the show, you wouldn't watch it.
There is a high likelihood if you told me I should watch a TV show that I will not watch that show.
And you will actually avoid watching that show.
I don't know if I avoid it so much as it just drops on. Like if I was interested in it and someone said you should watch this, and it's not even mindful. Like I'm not like, well, screw you. I'm not. And I don't think that in the moment. I'm like, oh yeah, I should watch that. And then I never get around to it because like someone told me I should do it. And I'm like, no, okay. I don't want to do that because you told me to do it. Like that doesn't make sense to everybody.
Okay, well, I want to either, I mean, instead of fast forwarding into, to your daughter's teenage years, I want to rewind back to your teenage years.
Oh yeah.
Because I feel like that's where you would see a lot of this, right?
Yes.
Like the teenager.
I mean, you can see it with younger kids too, because they don't know what they're responding to, right? Like especially younger kids who have autism in particular. When you tell them no, will need the explanation or not want to do. Like how often when you told your kids go to bed, what happened?
They didn't go to bed.
No, they didn't go to bed. That's why you
Right.
have
I'm
to
still
make it a
waiting for him
game,
to.
right?
Hmm.
That's why you have to make it a game, or like Daniel Tiger had clean up, pick up, put away, right? It wasn't like, and it became a song and it became a little dance or a little thing you did, right? As opposed to, go put your toys away, because that's a demand and that's something that people want to resist. So,
Okay. So it's not just a, you know, instruction or task of go do this. It
mm-mm.
is can be a suggestion. It could just be
Mhm.
anything. And because it's not you coming up with the thought of, oh, I'm going to
Right,
do this, you're just
right.
avoiding it altogether because
Mhm.
you don't want to be told what
What
to
to
do.
do? Yeah. Or it works in the reverse as well. And I
Okay.
recorded a TikTok about this recently, because I've been in like my unmasking process. Like recently, part of my work has been to try to like delve into what things I did that really were like core to who I am, and what was like something that I did either performatively or people pleasing and all of that. And I realized that a good portion of my professional achievements came from me doing it because somebody told me I couldn't.
Ah, right.
And it's the same thing. Somebody told me I couldn't get a PhD, so I did. So the opposite
Right.
works as well too. Like, and that's, I think for me, I think that was, if I look at this, like there are times when it's like somebody, like I still haven't watched Lower Decks, and I apologize to the 100 people who have told me this would be my favorite show ever, that I have not watched it because I have so many people have told me to watch that show. And I'm just like, stop. Let me forget about it so I can feel like I discovered it, and then I will be all in.
So is it like, when you go see a movie and everybody tells you it's a good movie, and then you go see the movie, you're generally disappointed because, oh, well, I thought I had higher expectations for it. Same sort of thing here?
Something or kind of, yeah, that can happen too. I might not even get in to see the movie because everybody was talking about how great it is, or
Yeah,
it's
right.
not even so
Right.
much that people are talking about things in general. For me, like with the example that I gave before we started, it really leads with somebody telling me how I'm going to feel about something. I think that's really
Mm,
for me personally and my PDA. It's somebody telling me you're going to love this, and I'm always like, "Am I? Like, am I?
right.
Okay, like I don't know that. Like you don't really know that either." And my nervous system just puts that in like, ratchet down. You're not putting a priority on this because somebody told you how you feel.
Right. It's always funny to me too, like just when somebody does that, I just feel like it's a good idea not to do that.
It is a good
You're
idea
you're
not to
gonna
do
feel
that.
this,
Yeah.
but like when I have like, hey, you're gonna love this movie. It's great. And then I watch the movie and then I'm like, really? They thought I was gonna
I
like
thought I was
this?
gonna like
What
this.
did
Yeah,
they think about me?
exactly. Exactly. Because, like,
Yeah.
sometimes when people say that to me, and I do know there are people who say things that know, like, what my likes are and know my sense of humor, that are suggesting things, but I'm still like, you don't know that I'm really going to love that. I might take issue with XYZ. I might not have, you don't know. I don't know. There's no way for you to know. And
So I know what I'm gonna do though. I'm gonna say at the end of the podcast, I'm gonna tell you, please don't go do dishes. And then all of a sudden, the thing that you hate worse in the world, you're gonna find yourself doing
right,
because I
right,
told you not to.
right. Don't do that.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah, that backwards, that works with my daughter too. Like, I will say, like, if she needs to run somewhere, I'm like, "Well, you can't run that fast sometimes." Like, I'll be like, "Well, you
Mm,
don't really run that fast," and she will, like, bolt or whatever, like,
right.
you know,
So does it work when you're telling yourself to do something as well?
sometimes. Or
Yeah.
sometimes I
So
will
if
create, like, a persona in my head that's telling me I can't get something done so that I will do it.
okay.
Somebody so and so
Okay.
won't believe that you can get this done this fast. Like, and I will put a timer on
Right.
and see how much of my kitchen I can get clean or whatever it is, or how many dishes I can wash
Right.
in 3
Right.
minutes, or whatever it is that I try to do to trick
Uh-huh.
myself into it. But yes.
I have a feeling I'm going to get a photo of your kitchen counter with no dishes on it later
Right.
tonight. Okay, so I would say I'm now thinking, okay, if I suggested a television show to you
Mm-hmm.
or a movie to you, maybe I see you again, a couple weeks later. I might check in. Hey, did you watch Lower
That,
Decks yet?
right.
How does that make you feel? And
That
what
resets the
what do
counter.
you say to that person?
Well,
Oh,
I'm
okay.
at that. Yeah, that resets. Like, so what? I don't know how to phrase this other than to just be absolutely ridiculous about it. I have an awful memory. Like, it was proven in my assessment how bad my memory was. So what will happen with something like Lower Decks is someone will suggest it, or many people, like I have had many people suggest that show to me. And they always come at it in the same way, like, you're going to love the show. You're going to love the show. And like I said, so there is like that whole, they're telling me how I'm going to feel and I'm having a reaction to that. But if they check back in with me in a couple of weeks, it resets my memory to it. Now you have reminded me of it, as opposed to me stumbling across it or finding it and coming across it and being like, oh, look, I want to go watch this because, I found this and I want to watch this. So he's researching
Right.
what Lower Decks is right now.
I am. I'm looking it up. I'm like, what is this? I want to go watch it. I'm actually watching an episode while we're recording. I have no idea what this is. I was like, am I suggesting, like, what am I suggesting here that you go
No, Lord,
watch?
it's
Because I
a
haven't heard
Star
of it.
Trek show.
Okay. Then
Yeah.
that's all right. I'm not gonna watch it. Um, not a Star Trek guy.
Not your thing.
Okay, so uh, resetting the okay, so you reset the timer. You're not gonna
Yeah.
watch it even longer. You're not gonna do this again. You're not gonna do this again. If I were on the other side of this and it was, something more serious, like the make the bed or do something,
Right. Yeah.
like uh Regina, I think you should go to the doctor, get your cough checked. I've
Right.
told you that. Now you're not going to go to the doctor and get your cough checked.
Right.
How do I
How
without
do you inspire
manipulating
someone's
you, how do
PDA?
you inspire somebody? No,
How do
how do
you
you inspire
avoid?
somebody to
Right.
yeah, so that they're not
Right.
going to
How
avoid
do you
something?
avoid this? Um, yeah, that's a really good question. I think, you know, taking it away from societal expectations. So like you should take care of your cough because it's important for you to be well. Like leading with curiosity. How about that? So, I've been coughing and I haven't gone to the doctor. So you'd go, okay, so what, instead of saying you need to go to the doctor to take
Hmm,
care of yourself, because that's a demand that I can avoid, you would say, what's keeping you from going to the doctor? What are the
okay.
barriers? What's emotionally going on here for you that, like, are you trying to avoid the doctor? Like, do we need to find you a new primary care? Like, do you want me to come with you so I can talk to your doctor about, like, what curiosity, I think, leading with curiosity and questions instead of go do this, even
Right.
if it's meant from a
Eh,
good place, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, and then I can think of this in the workplace, right?
Yes.
Like talking to somebody there, going at it with curiosity, like,
Hmm.
why are
What
the
are the barriers
TPS
here?
reports not
Hmm.
done? Why
Right.
is this not
Hmm.
right?
Yeah. And not to do that. And why is this not done also can, like, you don't want to get accusatory either, because that will, like, take up,
Yeah. Yeah.
remember, we've talked about.
What's preventing, right?
Right.
Let
Yeah.
me
What's
probably do
preventing
better. Right.
what are the, what are the hitches? Is there something going on in the workflow? Is there something that we can modify? Do you want to work through a scenario so we can figure out, like, a better way to run this? Something like that leads from curiosity, that isn't you're failing, right? Because we also don't want to trigger another one of our favorite 3-letter conditions, rejection sensitive dysphoria, in this as well. So we don't want rejection sensitivity to come in. That's why curiosity is important. And to lead with curiosity, you need to ask open-ended questions that aren't based in judgment. It's just, you know, It depends on relationship too. You have to foster a relationship of trust for someone to feel that they can trust you. And if you're not admonishing them when they miss maybe not miss a deadline, but like something is behind, or you don't come up with like, oh my God, where is this? Why don't you have this done? And instead are like, what's the holdup with this? And like, oh, this was due. Like, what's going on that's getting in the way of you completing this? Because then that leads with, I know you can do this.
Right.
Versus,
right. Yeah, what I said was more of a reference to the movie Office Space, which is a fantastic movie. You would think it's hilarious. You should watch it.
I have watched that one.
Oh, okay, good.
Maybe I'll watch that tonight, just in defiance of my PDA.
I love that movie. Okay, so I would think there's a fairly big emotional toll on yourself with
definitely.
the PDA.
Yeah, it's something you definitely want to hide. It's something that kind of like gets masked a lot, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Like my friends who have suggested lower decks don't know that I'm feeling this way about it. Like, I don't even want to. I brought that up because I think somebody suggested it recently to me. I can't remember because, again, bad memory. But they wouldn't know that I'm like, I always go, oh yeah, I'll try to check that out, and I'll put it on this list of things. And I had a friend want me to read a series of books that he really liked. And he started me in the middle of a chapter, like 2 or 3 chapters into the book, because he knew it would hook me. That section would hook me, and wasn't sure the very beginning of the book would. And that was a really interesting way to go about it, because that made it more personal too. He's like, you need to start reading here. And I went in and I read that. And I'm like, this is amazing. This is so good. And he's like, yeah, okay, now go back and read the beginning. And I'm like, do I have to? Is it necessary? Can't I just go from here?
I figured out, certain, like I read a lot of business books, right? And reading, I feel like I get through a book and it's like, I'm like 2 chapters in and I'm like, this is not exciting at all. This is not keeping my attention. I'm going to move on.
Yeah.
So I stop and I move on. What I've and this was some tip that I picked up online of like, go first to the chapters, look at something and find something interesting to you. Go read that chapter first and then go back into the
and go back to the beginning
book if you want to.
Yeah, if you want to,
or not.
Yeah, and with I think with books like that, that's a really good point to make. Like with books like that, like business books and things like that, it's likely there is only like maybe 1 or 2 chapters in that are going to be relevant to you anyway. And so when you read from page 1 to page 150, you might not need pages 1 through 40 and pages
exactly
70 through 100. So, you might,
yeah. So many of them are, let me tell you my story and let me tell you what I'm going to tell you before I tell you what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
And then let me tell it to you again before I tell you what I'm going to tell you.
Yeah.
I want to skip to just the what they're going to tell me.
Yeah, exactly. You just want to get
learned that lesson. That's helped me out.
To the and that takes away time too. And kind of hook us back into like the emotional difficulties of having like a demand avoidance. I don't always want to avoid the things that people want me to do. won't want to, and we're going to harp on the dishes today. I don't want to not do the dishes. Like I want to be able to have a clean living space. I want to be able to have things, put away where I want them put away. But making sure to get my nervous system to comply with that is the difficulty, right? I don't always get a choice. And I don't want, I've said this, we're banking episodes today, people. So if you're listening, we've recorded an episode before this, and I've said this in the previous episode. I don't want people to think like your neurodivergence gives you no choice over things. What I'm trying to characterize here is that there are these triggers that make it harder to exist when you're neurodivergent, that you can learn yourself to avoid, that you can hopefully teach the people in your life how to work with and around. And it's not an excuse not to do things. It's just learn about these different things that impact your life so that you can work with yourself, as opposed to trying to put yourself in a structure that doesn't account for some of these things and how they might challenge you.
And again, I'll just say the episode we ran 2 weeks ago,
Right.
instead of
Yes.
the episode we recorded 20 minutes ago.
Right.
Um, this is just good advice, no
Mhm.
matter what, whether you're
Right.
dealing with
Mhm.
neurodivergence or not. Like, what you're saying here is just general advice for everyone to follow
Yeah.
and go down that route. And if
Because
you're
there
treating
probably is,
everybody,
yeah. There probably is a little bit of demand avoidance too. Nobody likes being told what to do, right? Nobody really likes
totally,
that. The difference for
totally.
someone who has a PDA profile is the emotional experience they have of that demand is deeper and more fear-based than than someone who is neuronormative, right? They're not having that experience. They're not having that like emotional response to it the same way. And that's really the big factor that makes this. And it can make it debilitating. Like if I just told my daughter to go clean her room, she'd probably just not do anything because she wouldn't be able to break down the task. And I told her to do something she didn't want to do.
Right. So what's the difference between the PDA and what we talked about last time, which was like the task avoidance? Like, is there a difference there? And
I mean, there is like, I think there's a connection. The connection you're seeing is a lot of times we're talking about tasks in this. While we've been talking about PDA, a lot of times we're talking about tasks. Um, and I'm trying to think of an example of something that's PDA driven that isn't a task necessarily. But
well, the washing. I'm sorry, not washing the dishes. Watching a movie, watching
right,
a show,
yeah,
doing something like that, which is not really a task. It's a suggestion. It's
right.
something
And
that.
it's pleasure. It's free time. It's what you do in your
Yeah.
downtime. And I think that there's some deep need for control that people have. That again, that's probably universal. But if you're spending a good portion of your life masking your authentic self, you're going to feel that burden more greatly because you've been masking who you are. So even in your downtime, you want more autonomy, right? You want to be in control of what your downtime is versus you doing something that somebody else has told you to do.
Mm-hmm.
Because remember, the other name for it is persistent drive for autonomy, right? Like wanting that drive to be able to do things on your own. A really effective workplace accommodation for PDA is to just allow people to create their own flows, to allow people to figure out how they want to do things, and come up with a system that works for them.
Mm-hmm.
And they will be, I love that. I love figuring out the best way and the fastest way I can do something, versus being told this is an optimized way. Well, that's an optimized way for somebody's brain who designed that. If you let me design my own way, I assure you I'll be faster doing it.
it it's kind of interesting too. Like, you think about, like more modern workspaces are probably more like agile and more adaptable
Right.
to,
Definitely.
people's behaviors and,
Mm-hmm.
and what they're doing. Whereas, the kind of the older way of running a business might be, very rigid environment, right?
Right.
Like, that's,
Yep.
here is the way that we do this here.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Well, because we've always done it this way, and you need to do it this exact way.
Right.
Um, it, I guess, in searching for a job, this would be something you'd want to kind of figure out that environment. You'd want to ask
Mm-hmm.
questions and figure out the environment to see, is this a place? Now, on the
Yeah.
hiring side of that, what are some questions or some ways that an employer can sort of help to showcase like what type of company that they are, like that they're adaptive to this, or what, this is not, this is the way we
Yeah.
do things, this is how it is,
Right.
like, if you is there a way that an employer can, effectively maybe give that message
Yeah, I
early
think
on,
that
like in
there's
an interview?
yeah. I think there's ways to communicate that in an interview. One of the questions I always like to ask when I was being interviewed was, what is the workplace culture like? Like, what's your focus for your culture? And if they can't answer that question, I'm always really sus about it, because that means they haven't really thought about their workplace culture, which is a problem unto itself. Because no matter what you do, no matter if you're working remotely, if you're working in an office together, you're creating a culture between, whoever of it is working there, right?
Right.
So, that too, like what is the culture? Like what are the driving factors? What are the values that are important? And being able to set that up. So if your values are, we have a system and we always use this system, you just say, we have a optimized system for doing XYZ, and we will train you so that you know this system. Now, for someone who is aware of potentially their autism, one of the things that are a big strength for autistic employees that you would have having autistic employees is they will see more efficient ways to do things. Like that is just autistic brains are very often optimized for how to do things cleanly, clearly, and fast. And if you let them come in and see your system, they will likely help you optimize it. If you force them into a system that exists and they see problems and pitfalls and things like this, it's going to become harder and harder for them to continue to do the work, because you've put them in a place where they can't optimize it.
Right. So, okay. So there you're talking about something big, right? Like their work day, something that they're going to be doing every day.
Yep.
Something else that they're going to be doing every day is getting text messages. I feel like this could be it's a stressful thing. It's like,
yeah,
it's sort of I have certain friends, I won't say names, but if I don't respond back within a couple of hours, they're kind of like upset at me,
right?
Because I haven't responded back. So they're sort of putting their demands of my time,
Sure.
by, which I don't
Pushing.
appreciate either.
Right.
I don't like. So generally now I just don't answer, for a few days. But like that, I'm doing a little.
I'm immediately trying to figure out if you're talking about me.
No, I'm not talking about you.
But you're not.
I'm not. No. But I mean, I'm sort of doing a little PDA there, right? By pushing back and saying, I'm not going to answer these texts. How about in those low stakes things? Like, how does this come into play? I mean, I'm assuming it's sort of the same, right?
Sure. Yeah. Like if someone is, I always have this with, deadlines for certain things with school stuff for my daughter. If somebody's tries to create a sense of urgency that doesn't exist, we have to re-register for school in February, but school doesn't start until September. Why? I get you need to plan. This is a little, and you can wait. You could have waited until March to know this. You didn't need to know this early.
Right.
Those types of things. I do, end up completing the paperwork that I need to complete, because these are things that, I do need to get done. But I do often have why are you creating a sense of urgency around something? So for the example that you're giving of the friend who wants your response within a certain amount of time, that's an expectation on their part, and they're placing that expectation back on you. So you kind of kicking that off and being like, I don't need to respond to this right now is, I don't know if that's pathological demand avoidance so much as it is just a resisting of maybe it is. It's a resisting of external urgency that is not of value to you.
Right. I am. It's more being PIA, pain in the But I guess that's what somebody that's doing this, I mean, you not watching Lower Decks. I'm already 2 episodes in now, watching it and fast forward here. But you not watching it could be seen as just being difficult.
Yes,
Being
definitely.
a PIA instead of
yes, instead of a
a
PDA.
good friend that's going to listen to them. So how does that how do you deal with that? And then how should others cope with that are that know somebody that's going through this?
Right. A lot of it is just figuring out what's important to you and why. Like, again, urgency culture with this idea that like people need to respond to text messages as soon as you send them, that like you need to respond to emails or phone calls, within whatever time, etc. There's a lot of different pieces involved in that, kind of pulling out the expectations and figuring out where your demand thresholds are, and then communicating them to people. So something that I've started to do, I mentioned previous episode that like I have had to teach myself how to rest. And the hardest thing that I'm having with that is being off my phone. And even if I go to watch a movie that is something that I do want to watch, that I have selected for myself, that I have not been told to watch.
Okay.
And
Office Space.
what?
Office Space. Okay.
Office Space, whatever. Yeah, and I'm doing that. I will still often get sucked into my phone, and all of a sudden I have missed 5 minutes of the movie because I got sucked in, because I picked my phone up because I got a message or it pinged or something, and I wear a watch that pings. And so one of the things I did with my watch was I cut down on the number of apps that could ping me, right? That I could get
Right.
distractions for. So I have removed a good number of like no social media things ping on my watch anymore. The only things I get are like text messages, and that's pretty much it. And phone calls and stuff like that, and calendar entries, the things that I really need it to help me with. But everything else is
Mm-hmm.
removed from coming in on my watch, because it's like, I don't need, my threads or my Instagram pinging my wrist, or whatever else. I don't need all that constant demand on me. I've also trying to be better about leaving my do not disturb on, because like I will turn it off because I'm having a conversation with somebody it's supposed to come on at like 10 or 10:30. And I do a lot of texting around that time because I'm a mom, and that's usually when my decompress from the daytime is.
Totally.
And I'm trying to be better about, okay, you have to stop with this at this time. I was just saying that I really need to get back onto my actual Kindle and stop reading off my phone, because reading off my phone just means when all those messages come in, I stop reading instead,
Right. Right.
and to put it down and kind of break myself away from it. So like realizing your thresholds, testing yourself out, recognizing sometimes when PDA is kicking in. Like sometimes I'll just have that moment of like I really want to go watch Lower Decks now because we've talked about it so much. Part of the reason
Nice.
why I haven't is I don't have a subscription to Paramount. So I think you have to have a subscription to Paramount to watch it.
Gotcha.
And there's too many subscription services. I'm so tired of subscription
Totally.
services.
I know.
Remember when we thought that was going to
Everything.
be the coolest thing, and it's turned into
I
just
know.
another nightmare?
I know. Now it's a little bit of everything for everything instead of
Yes.
just one company. You're still paying the same amount.
Mm-hmm.
Like I told you, I cut the cord. I don't have
Mm-hmm.
cable anymore, but now I have YouTube TV, and I'm like, there's all these extras that like, oh, this is kind of cool. Oh, that's kind of cool. Yeah, stop.
Yeah,
It's going to get
exactly.
more expensive.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Another thing too with the I love the idea of just using the Kindle. I have an iPad. I have all the notifications off on there. Like I don't get notifications on there because, except for news, I get news notifications just because,
Yeah, I don't think I get any notifications on
I
my
want to
iPad
be up
either.
to date.
Needs to be a
And
workspace.
that's,
Yeah.
yeah. Well, I don't even use, I mean, it's just for goofing off, it's
Oh,
reading
okay.
Reddit and reading books and
Yeah.
reading things and,
Interesting.
or watching things. And it's not about notifications. So on my phone, I have that. A lot of the times I just leave my phone put away. Like I don't get a phone call on my iPad. Like I don't have it set up like that. I don't want to, it's
Yeah.
like, this is my time.
And
It's
I
me.
think that's really smart. I think that's something that that people need to leverage more just in general, like controlling what inputs you're getting and where you're getting demands from. And because like the thing is with your phone is everything ends up feeling urgent. Like even if it's not, even if you don't
Yeah.
need it, even if it's like, I have on my iPhone, you can do the scheduled summary. So it's like, okay, put some stuff in your scheduled summary so it doesn't come in immediately. And then if you want to go look at it, you can. And then the best part about that, at least for me, is I can just swipe that entire scheduled summary away once. And I don't
Yeah. Right.
have to go through and do for each app that is like loading up stuff there. And it comes in twice a day. I peruse it and see if there's something I want to look at. And when there's not, I can just swipe it away. And I think you're less, at least my experience, and I know the experience of a lot of people I know who have PDA profiles, is that the fewer demands you have, the less likely your avoidance is going to kick in, because it is kind of a,
Right.
saturation problem, right?
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, that's like, it's the amount of inputs we have now
It's
is
ridiculous.
just out of control.
Yep.
Right. I mean, it's I like, there was something I don't know, there was an article I read a long time ago about like the hospitals and the amount of like alerts and notifications they get on
Alarm
a
fatigue.
floor. Yeah, where now they
Mhm.
don't even pay attention to alarms, so they had to create alarms for the alarms and then alarms
Uh-huh.
above the alarms. It's like,
Yep.
what are we doing? And
Yeah.
now, it's like now we're all doing that on our phones.
Right. Exactly. Because there's things pinging constantly. Yeah. And
Exactly.
it does make it really hard. It does make it really hard to differentiate what is really urgent and what is not. And,
Mm-hmm.
the more you can work with the people in your life and your boss, and the more bosses know about this, the more managers know about this, the more supervisors can know. Like, again, having the idea of leading with curiosity instead of demands, I think, is really pivotal to understanding the best way to accommodate someone who has persistent drive for autonomy, someone who wants to be able to be autonomous. Really, we all want that. But when it is that deep-seated fear and emotion and anxiety that kicks up with this, like, why wouldn't you want to create a workspace or to manage people in a way that they feel good about what they're doing and feel good about the way you approach them?
Right. Right. And for those bosses that are listening to this, for those managers, for those companies that are listening to this, that want to learn a little bit more and learn how to, integrate the techniques that you're talking about into their business, how do they reach out to you?
Yeah, hit up my website, divergentpathsconsulting.com, book a discovery call, and let's talk and see what kind of workshops we might be able to do. You can do virtual workshops, you can do in-person workshops, depending on where you're located. And yeah, I would love to come and talk with people about making, this the way we lead.
And you like to work with companies, I hear, that have paper plates instead of actual physical dishes in their office.
Don't ask me to do the dishes at your office. Thank you so much for listening. PDA can be a really challenging aspect of neurodivergence. Leading with curiosity, both for yourself or with others, often helps dismantle the anxiety direct demands can provoke. Wherever you are on your journey, we would love to hear from you. Catch us on social media at Divergent Paths Consulting, no spaces. Make sure to subscribe to this podcast wherever you listen, like and leave a review, and share with your friends, or perhaps someone that loves someone with a unique brain. And until next time, stay curious.